What's good, YouTube? And welcome to a break from ban list, where's the freaking ban list? As well as all the Twitch drama going on in the mainstream, just crazy amounts of it between terms of service and things happening. And also, not the megatins on the screen for the first time in a while. Instead, we're going to talk about cards that couldn't be in the megatins that are starting to go up because of the support that cheapened in the tins, or also future things coming out. This is a mix of both of those, with Alba Lunatis starting to go up consistently. The cheapest copies from top-rated sellers being around 16 some odd dollars. A couple deals before then that are much higher than this card used to be, where it bottomed out. You can see at first that mega hype and then it calming down. Oh yeah, I only need one of these, and it going up. Of course, again, most people want me maxing out on this card even in the future, but Bisted does bring the Dogmatica Albaz stuff back into light, and people are looking at this card. However, the Starlight Rare is going down in price right now. Plenty of them under triple digits from top-rated sellers. So whenever I see a trend like this, it makes me scratch my head a bit and go, okay, is this a naturally rising price because of what's going on? And I think it's a bit more that people are looking towards that future support rather than current play, but also maybe guaranteeing their piece. I don't think this is a forced buyout. So that leads one of two things to happen. People might begin to speculate on the max rarity, or the max rarity is such a big gap from the regular copy that people still ignore this and go for the regular copy. I think it's actually that straight up, that there is such a huge gap rather than it being $5-10 at creeping up on it. It's a $80 plus difference to consider, which is still huge when going for just a base copy of a card. But we'll watch this and see what actually happens, see if people do speculate on it. It is a pretty decent time to get this, but again, people aren't really maxing out on copies of this. Now, Flume Therese and the advent of adventure, we've covered this going up, and it's up even further. Now with sales above the $20 mark, one deal, you gotta start somewhere, 0% feedback, one sale, but hey, the cheapest on the market before, they are $20 plus very quickly. And again, the sales are happening in that range. 2 at 21, 1 at 22 here, 1 at 20. So the deals keep popping up, but it has been selling at a very fast rate all around that $20 mark. And I've got to say, it's not really as much of a budget option when you take away the value in one place and then the other piece ends up going up, but it's still a pretty decent meta call in terms of being able to still fight back. But at the price of what is budget these days, I don't know. I really don't. Let me know your thoughts about Flunder in the current format and how you see it going personally. Now, every once in a while, there's an archetype that Yugi tubers are going to murder and say terribly, and I would say Kshatri if I was looking at it, but it's actually like Kshatri. So yeah, I'm probably still murdering it somehow, even though I've listened to this 20 times. This deck is causing a lot of buyouts though, when people are looking forward to it coming out. One being Psy Beast, which is a level 2 that saw buyouts before. You remove any psychic type monster from the deck. Some of these want to be banished for advantage reasons, and then it becomes the level. But with more and more support within the deck, people are looking at this once again. It only has one printing, and as it doesn't need to often normal summon, this is a decent card for the deck, and people are going super crazy on it. And it's around $10 for the unlims, where the first around 12. People just want to try to sell copies of this, so be aware it's up in price, and maybe you can make a sale on yours, and people are buying them up at this price. Also, Sacred Sword of 7 stars, draw power. The holographics have been bought out and rebought out. Here we covered when they initially spiked. And the other versions are starting to go lower on quantities, the common and the gold letter rare, but they're still very affordable, so you might want to get yours sooner than later if you are considering this as a tech in that deck, but test before you invest. While I'm not a financial advisor, I do suggest quickly trying to see if you actually mesh with a deck before physically putting money into the cards for a deck. The Ascendant of Thunder is another card for the deck, where it's a level 7 that can spit itself out of the hand for a low cost of 3,000 freaking life points. Especially with time being a factor in tournaments, do consider how you're actually dealing out damage and what you might be facing throughout 40-minute rounds, etc. But again, 3,000 life points, it pops out, and then you overlay with it. You're almost never going to get the actual life point gain destroyed by an opponent's card to buy battle or card effect. But hey, maybe you can get to the battle phase and push it into something bigger. But yeah, all versions of this, which are only 2 Code of the Duelist in 2018 mega packs, they are on buyout mode as well and going up in price. Astral Kuribo is actually sneaking up here too. It reads, you can reveal one number Xyz monster from your extra deck and special summon this card from your hand. If you do, this card becomes the level of the revealed monster's rank. Also, while it's face up in the monster zone, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except number Xyz monsters, which there's plenty for the deck to actually be playing. You can only use the effect of Astral Kuribo once per turn, and number Xyz that summoned using this cannot be destroyed by battle or opponent's card effects. So also gives some extra armor to the number monster that you are considering summoning, and is a pretty decent option for the deck, so I see why people are going for it, and it's about, you know, around that $5 mark it's bubbled to before, but it's consistently getting a lot of sales versus it was selling around $2 to $3 not too long ago. That's almost a double back up for this card and hype around it. Instant Contact got mentioned in the Discord, and it is interesting. You pay 1,000 life points, you special summon a level 7 or lower elemental hero or Neospatian monster from the extra deck, so you'd go 7 exact, and you can just overlay with it. Basically, while Elemental Hero Neos is neither on your field nor in your graveyard, the special summon monster can't attack, but you just use it as a material. Its effects are negated and return it to the extra deck into the phase. Again, becomes a material, not that big of a factor, and it's not like it's negating its effects or anything either. So people are kind of considering it. It's cute. It's gone up like $1-ish, but it's not going crazy or anything. So right now you have time to test and consider with that too. Ultimate Slayer is way down in price as it has not seen as much play as people once thought. Again, it tears apart certain boards, has troubles with others, and I still think it's a pretty decent tech to consider, but that's where player brain versus market brain can take a wrong turn. There's plenty of value in Power of the Elements without it, and the staple-ish card that everybody tried to magnetize to has continued to go down to where you see it around $35 to $36 quite commonly. So if you've been looking to pick it up, it is towards its cheapest, and it could see it like a crossout designator situation where it does end up going up. Remember that spiking to 60 before falling back down, or it could just continue to fall. We'll have to wait and see. Legendary Duelist Rage of Ra is interesting to me because the top end continues to lose value, but the sealed maintains value. And again, people are just really scared to buy Ghost Rares online and it fit a platforms like, oh yeah, it's just like scratching on the picture. Of course it's near mint. So people don't want to buy it. They want to see it in person to buy a cleaner copy, right? So they've continuously gone down. The first edition's around 173 for Ghost Rare Raw, but Ancient Chant is spiking really hard here. Egyptian God Slime spiking once again, and Altar Artwing Dragon of Raw also going up, all because of the support in the Megatons. See, we did a full circle there. Not show the Megatons, talk about things that the Megatons end up spiking. Now, I think the buyouts are pretty ridiculous. I don't know about seeing how the actual deck plays. It's not going to be meta, but casual doesn't mean broke, and people often target buyouts around the God cards, very commonly knowing that people will end up coughing it up as they complete their decks. Unfortunate cycle to see, but with only being printed in a Duelist pack once, we've seen ridiculous prices end up on cards like Silent Magician that don't see that play either. Unchained Abomination, now talking about good players talking about cards, I heard that this was on the Goo cast with Nesh and Pack, so it is going up in price and lower on quantities as people consider it, and it's always one of those cards that I've talked about through Penny Stonks that I'm like, this has a ton of potential, and it's cycled into decks like Dragon Link before, so it's nice to see it get a little attention, but we'll have to wait and see. I think it's for Sprite along with Runic, if I'm not mistaken, and also seeing some play in those decks. Hyperia, oh, you know, it mixes very well with Sprite for the normal summons. You get a draw, and then you're able to special. This card continues to gain interesting traction as it goes up, down, now around $6, being only printed once. If you have these, they might be worth more than you remember because it's spiked somewhat recently in the card's history, and it has a market price of $8.50 though, yet is selling around $6 because a lot of people are seeing that and starting to list theirs. Tactical Master, speaking of Runic, is interesting to me because it continues to go down for the sealed, but versus how pre-sellers chopped up estimated value pulled, a lot of the collector rares outside Anti-Spell Fragrance are very up in price, and Cosmic Cyclone, but then you also have the ultras in the set, a lot of them being hires like Runic Tip itself and Welcome Labyrinth then versus pre-sales. But then again, that EVP, a lot of the cards are also somewhat lower. It's interesting to me. So what do you think of this seal? This is a Genesis Impact situation where once it hits a certain point, it's worth ripping open, doing all that work, and getting those smaller margins, or because a lot of the value is still in the collector rares, is it not worth it for you? Vendors, let me know in the comment section down below before I go do the math myself what you think of the situation here, because at some point Genesis Impact became worth opening if you were doing mass cases, not on a smaller scale where you're still gambling, but we're talking like 20 cases. All right, we're going in and I'm making money on it barely. I was told that by some major vendors, but let's see how this actually turns out and let me know what you think. Toon Chaos is also pretty interesting because the seal's kind of wobbled over time a bit. It's actually down if you go versus the graph, but up recently. It's had the dip and the stabilization, but a lot of the major cards have gone down over time, where other cards that EVP estimated value pulled has bounced in other places and gone up elsewhere. Like you see BLS First edition continues to go down and is now available once again under 300. You goat boomers, you're slacking on your cards. But the Toon cards have all gone up, including the ultra rares over time, which is a collectible aspect I pointed out early with this deck. And you can see in other places like, you know, now atop the set Psyframe Gear Gamma for its consistent sales and market price, even on Unlim, and other cards kind of doing their thing over time. Let me know what you think about sets like these, because this was during the boom of like Pokemon getting attention, people coming in from other card games, money throwing around everywhere, and while it settles, some parts are still continuing to go up, while the mainstream everybody focused on at first has kind of gone down, like that BLS, like that Stardust, but it got a Starlight competitor, right? Let me know what you think about this set, Tactical Masters, and everything else going on with the meta cards, future meta, as well as the buyouts happening. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the conversation, and go get back to your insane, crazy Twitch drama stuff going on.